Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we begin this meeting, we acknowledge that we're in the traditional territory of the the Huron-Robinson Treaties area. We recognize the long history of the First Nations and the Métis peoples on this land and show respect to them today. We acknowledge our neighbors, the Wattamohawks and the First Nations of Moose Deer, Shawniga, Wasauksing, Magnetawan, Henley Inlet, Nipissing, and the Dokies. We are learning from our First Nation partners of the Wasauksing First Nation the importance of accepting our responsibility to take care of Mother Earth, her plants, her animals, and our shared peoples. As settlers, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet here, and we thank all of the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. So I'll call this meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda. There are several items on the addendum that you would have received this afternoon. Does everybody have those? Approval of the agenda with the addendum. Thank you. And is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof? I see none. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the minutes of the regular and closed session meetings of council held on April 15th, 2024 as circulated. Any errors or omissions? I have a motion to accept. 10. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn the regular meeting to hold a public meeting for the following matters. Consent application number B 2024-0004-H and zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2024-0009-H for Sullivan. I have a motion. Ken and Greg. All in favor of moving to public? Thank you. Council will now hold public meetings for proposed consent and zoning bylaw amendment applications. In accordance with the Planning Act, Council will consider all matters placed before it prior to granting a consent or passing a zoning bylaw. Anyone wishing to receive notice of the passing of a zoning bylaw amendment who has not submitted such a request in writing should provide your full name and address to the clerk. No one other than the prescribed persons may appeal an application under the provisions of the Planning Act. If they do not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin prior to the decision of Council, then the Ontario Land Tribunal may dismiss the appeal. The purpose of consent application number B 2024-0004-H for Sullivan is to create one new lot with frontage on Highway 141. The purpose of the zoning bylaw amendment application number R 2024-0009-H for Sullivan is to rezone the severed lands to implement the recommendations of an environmental impact study. I now ask the clerk to state the method by which the notice of the meeting was provided and the dates on which that notice was provided.
Notice of the public meeting was provided by posting the property on March 20th, 2024, and by posting on the Township of Seguin's website and by regular mail on March 22nd, 2024. Notice was therefore considered to provide in accordance with requirements of the Planning Act.
Has the township received any correspondence with respect to these applications?
No, correspondence has been received from Atia and David Pokorny, Brenda and Lee Lesperance, and John Marinick.
Is there anyone present in person in the council chambers who wishes to speak in favor of or in opposition to these applications? Okay. Could you move to the podium and introduce yourself and push the little button so the green light goes on? Thank you.
Yes. Hello, I'm Atia Pokorny. I am an adjacent owner together with my husband of the property on the Lake Gilbank. I have to say first, I don't have any objection to the severance, but both my husband and I have concern about the impact of the possible building on the site and how I would like to know how the township will monitor the requirements or recommendations that the environmental study has done. We have been on the lake for 27 years, and I can say that as everything else in this world, it's getting worse. So we want to protect whatever is possible to protect. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. And council has a copy of your letters. I see Brady on screen. Do you want to address how the recommendations in the environmental study will be handled?
Yes, through you, your worship, the property will be subject to site plan control. So that means that the owners will be required to enter into a site plan agreement with the township. And through that site plan agreement, there will be the recommendations that the owner has to adhere to when they are developing on the property.
Thank you very much. Does that help you? The environmental study will be implemented, and site plan control means that our planning department will see every step that is recommended that it comes through.
Yes,
Thank you. No, township paid for it. So Councillor Bazinski.
Just maybe to elaborate on that for this lady, Brady, could you explain to her about the visits of the building inspector onto the property and a final building inspection to deal with the site plan control issues?
Yes, I can address that. So when the owners submit a building permit application, it first goes through a zoning review. In that zoning review, they will ensure that the recommendations are being adhered to. And then also our building inspectors will be out on site throughout the development to ensure that it is being developed in accordance.
Thank you. And if anything arises during the building process, you're welcome to call the township. Has anyone registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation?
No one has registered to speak to these applications via electronic participation.
Council have any further questions? Thank you. Council will now close the public meeting and reconvene to the regular meeting. Oops. So I have a motion that the public meeting held for the following matters is hereby closed and the regular meeting is hereby reconvened. Could I have a motion to Greg and Mario? All in favor? Okay, there's two steps. So I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby grant provisional approval to consent application number B 2024-0004-H for Sullivan, subject to the conditions set out in the decision. Motion. Terry Filner and Ted Collins. All in favor? You. And the second portion of this is a motion that bylaw number 2024-045, being a bylaw to amend the Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll 4903-010-010-03200, R 2024-0009-H for 479 Highway 141 for Sullivan is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion? Greg and Mario? And all in favor? Thank you. And now we move into our delegations, and it is my pleasure to welcome Warris Cameron and his brother from Best Developments. I believe council has your presentation in their package, but I believe it's also going to be on the screens, correct? Yes. So if you could move to the podium and push the little green button until the light red. Oh yeah, he's going to give you the clicker.
Hello, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Mayor Ann, the council, Jason, staff, and everyone here for allowing us to demonstrate what we want to do for you guys and your community. And we're just going to go through a run through of our business, what we've built, what we plan on building. So our company name is Best Developments, and we have a different company as well called Bash Developments. Best Developments was started from my grandfather in the late 1990s. So far, we've built over 1,000 homes in the GTA area and outside GTA area. So we'll go through that. Trying to click it. Okay, so this is our partner company called Bash Developments. Best Developments and Bash Developments now operate together. We just launched our new project in the Kingston area for 545 homes. So let's go through our past projects. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of slow. Should I just tell you when to click? Okay, you can click next. Okay, so one of our projects was Kings Gate. This was in Richmond Hill, Ontario. This consisted of 21 units. It was a pretty small project, but this shows that we made a mixture of townhouses, some 2-story, some 3-story. You can click next. Happens to the best of us. Okay, so this is Swallow's Nest. I don't know if any of you have seen the documentary on Netflix called What Jennifer Did. So you'll see a representation of our business there. We built that whole subdivision. It was around 500 homes. It actually came #1 on Netflix. So we have our logo there and everything. We didn't even know about it. So it was a pretty interesting documentary. But if you guys want to see a close-up of our subdivision there, if you guys want to go to like around 20 minutes into that documentary, you can see Swallow's Nest. This was the first feng shui approved subdivision in Markham. This was built around the early 2000s, and this was our first big project in Canada. This was the Art House. So this was our first high rise in Markham. This one has an LEED certification, which is helps with saving electricity for the whole building and which reduces management condo fees, something we'd like to introduce as well in this area. You can go next. This is another 120 semi-detached in Markham. This was called Wismer Green next to Go Station. You can see pretty beautiful houses. We hope to build something like this in your area as well. You can go next. Glengarry Lane, this was in Mississauga, 23 exquisite townhomes. This was next to golf course, TTC. This is just a drawing of the subdivision, but this is how it looks like. The architectural drawings and everything look pretty similar to what it actually looks like right now. So we can go next. These are our current projects. This is what we currently are building. Bob Cajun. So Bob Cajun is in Quathra Lakes, very beautiful area. We've already constructed 30 homes so far. It's a 262 home project, and it's going pretty well, pretty smooth, and no complaints there. We're closing every 2 months, closing home every 2 months. We can go next. Beaverton is next to Lake Simcoe. This is one of our other projects, around 199 homes with more commercial units coming along the way. We're close to getting our servicing, internal servicing and external servicing done for this project. Again, next to the beautiful Lake Simcoe, very nice project, very nice community being built there. First one of its kind in the area. This is Napanee, which I just talked about near Kingston, which we're building 485 units. This includes rentals. This includes townhouses. This includes semi-detached and detached. The rental program was what we were thinking mainly for affordability for that area. And that is something that we want to go towards more. So that's something new we're trying out, and hopefully it works out and we can introduce more of these type of products in the future. So this is our current progress on the site. So as everyone knows, our site address is 147 Parry Sound Road. We've invested a lot of time and money and effort into the site, as well as with your guys' support. We really appreciate that. So far, we've created these, what you call semi-roads with the help of our environmentalist. So when we get our servicing and everything in place, we can do our geotech reports. Our cars can go in, collect soil samples. And, you know, we want to make it a very smooth process for everyone where we deliver the product that everyone wants to see in the area. We need to facilitate the type of growth that you guys are creating here. So this is the topographic survey that we've done. As you see, it's not that flat, but for this area, it's pretty flat. We can do a lot of things in the area. We have done a boundary survey as well. You can click next. And this is the EIS that we've done. So as a company, each project that we do, we have core value set aside to it. Our core value set aside for this was culture. We have to have the culture in place that you guys have fostered throughout the time of community and timeline and everything. And another thing that we want to foster is just timeliness. We know that you guys want this project delivered, and we want to help you guys help us as well, but we want to deliver this project in a timely manner. And also nature. We understand how important nature is to this area. So the first thing that we set out to do is to do an EIS. Our environmental impact study was done by Roots Environmental. And as you can see, this is a preliminary constraints map. And the only thing we're waiting on is further direction to go further into our studies, but this was our first course of action. And another of our core values is to work with the First Nations and Council with whatever they want us to do, as we understand the importance of everyone in this community. So this is examples of what we plan on building. These are the type of products we can build in your area. So these are townhomes. These are all vinyl townhomes. You can see pretty beautiful, very nice place to live. These are 5-6 townhouse condos and freehold townhouses as well that we can create for you guys. We can go next. This is another detached, again, vinyl. Staying into that type of integrity, we can see greenery all around. That's the type of community we want to foster, the type of homes we want to make. Again, another type of detached home that we plan on building in another area, which we can produce here. In mass. This is another detached home, all brick. So again, we really want to give the clients a choice of which type of house they want to live in, because you understand a house is not just a 10-year or 5-year type of place. It's a place where we hope that we can live in, we can retire in, our children can grow in, and hopefully they also need another house to buy in, right? We can't just expect our children to live with us for our whole lives, right? No one wants that here. This is another brick house, very beautiful detached home we want to provide to your guys' community. This is a mid-rise that we can even provide in your guys' community. Again, it's all about just the diversity, because we understand everyone else has their needs. We understand some people like bungalows where they don't want to walk the stairs. They want one floor type of living. We understand some people don't really care about the space, but they like the amenities that a mid-rise would provide for them, and no headache of garbage and all that type of good things. So this is why we would like to provide mid-rises as well. Townhouses, they all provide to each and everyone's needs. So that's our goal, to provide to everyone. So if anyone has any questions, feel free. My email is listed there. If anyone has any questions, concerns, again, I'd like to thank everyone for taking part of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Boris. Council, do you have any questions? Councillor Bazinski.
Yes, thank you. Where does Roots Environmental call home? Like, I haven't heard of Roots before. That's just, I'm wondering where they're from and.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So Roots Environmental is an environmental company settled in Barrie. It's the main guy to reach out is Kyle Fleming. He's a great guy, been in the industry for decades, and he's who we've contacted from suggestions of our planners and engineers, and he's been doing good work so far for us.
Great, thank you. One other question, if I might. My main concern at this point in the process is with servicing. I assume you're going to do a functional services report.
Yeah.
And water, sewer, and garbage are very important to us. Now, the township doesn't have development charges bylaw now, and I'm hoping we're going to have one eventually. But the CAO and the mayor have assured me that that the development will pay for itself. So that's the fundamental premise that I'm working on, and I'm assuming that's your
100%. So every project that we do, we see a bit of DCs in everything that we build. Obviously, DCs help facilitate the township and council to build and maintain their wastewater treatment plants. And honestly, they're saying it's going to build stuff. I think it's going to pay more than what it, like it's going to double down on what it has to do, right? Because it's not only 50, 80 acres, it's a 700-acre project. We're one builder on the project, but after we start building and carrying out, and there's some plan in place in regards to servicing, I guess a lot of people are going to come on board, right? And yeah, we understand that that's fair game for us. Our goal is just to provide and to provide in the quickest manner that we can and the best quality.
I'm going to ask our CAO to respond to that as well.
Thank you, Worship, members council. As you're well aware, the township is undertaking a DC background study. We expect to be in front of council in the next few meetings. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I apologize for that, but with an update on the specific timelines and when council should expect to see us coming forward with the DC background study.
Councillor Bazinski again.
Sorry, I don't want to monopolize the questions, but I just wanted to make one point, and it has to do with parks, because normally you think in developing something in Newmarket or in the GTA and near urban GTA, you develop the parks for the development. In cottage country, the lakes provide a lot of the recreational facilities. So in this development, you probably are going to see that, especially for the single family homes, they may have a boat and a trailer, and they will go to the local lakes to put in for day use. They'll go fishing or water skiing or whatever. So somehow I think we have to consider this in terms of parkland dedication and parks and so on. That's just a point for the future. Thank you.
I'm going to ask Jason to respond to that too, and it's in the plan.
I think you just nailed it on the head there, Councillor Brzezinski. As you're all well aware, the Planning Act speaks to a percentage of the lands being allocated to parks. In discussion with Warris and team, the highlighting and using the environmentally protected areas and highlighting their significance by accompanying trails or off-road transportation networks will form part of the broader development as we move forward. So we certainly recognize the value of the geographic area that we live in and what people do with respect to access to the lakes. So all of these are considerations as we move forward with the development.
Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. When do you plan to put your road in? Hopefully, like what's your target date?
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Realistically, we're waiting on servicing in place, all that good stuff, you know. If it was up to me, I'd be putting up roads up tomorrow. But we need to follow the processes. We need to follow what Jason tells me and what Mayor Ann tells me and what you guys tell us. And we understand that, you know, there's some question marks right now regarding servicing and stuff. So we need to final those things up so we can make a plan and you guys see that plan, right? Then whatever you guys say goes.
Yeah. Just while I'm sure that you already realize that this council is focused on economic development, especially in our MZO area. And this is where we're talking about for the people in the audience, in case they didn't know that. And I'm just hopeful that we can get this done as quickly as possible for you so you can get that road in and start building homes.
I really appreciate that, sir. Thanks.
I'll give him that.
Your worship, members of council, there's a number of key priorities, as you're well aware, with respect to the MZO lands and partnering with Best Bash Developments to bring some of this to fruition, including the servicing, including the economic benefits. One of the underpinning and most important components to this development too is affordability. And Warris and the team from Best Bash have been very focused on ensuring that we are building homes that reach a vast variety of folks, but most importantly, that there's some affordability in here so that people can afford to buy a home and live and call Seguin and West Parry Sound home. It's really, really important to both of us as we've had our conversations about ensuring that attainable housing is in place through this development.
Thank you. Councillor Getty. No, you can pass. You're on my list. Any other questions? Well, thank you actually, this isn't really a place for public comment,
Okay, I don't-
but you're welcome to speak to him afterwards.
I was going to ask where it was.
Oh, where the MZO lands are? That's 743 acres in Seguin. It's the north west corner of Seguin, and it would be directly behind Rona and Canadian Tire. So it's walking distance to the town of Parry Sound.
Also, my email's listed on the presentation. If anyone wants to ask any questions, anytime, feel free. I'm always available.
Thank you. Thank you to you and your brother for making the trip up here, and we can't wait to get shovels in the ground. Oh,
We can't wait.
Councillor Finson, do you have a question? No, okay.
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 No,
but
I'm
thank you
fine.
very
I'm
much.
just,
We're
thanks.
anxious to see the work start. So
We're
we know-
anxious too.
we know that wastewaters are our challenge.
Yes. And whatever you guys need, please ask us and we're here to help anyone. All right. Thank you so much, everyone. You guys have been great.
Thank you. I didn't see you, Lori. Okay, so you are on next. Lori McDonald, one of the owners of the Rosso General Store.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm here celebrating already. If you know me, I love a birthday party, so here I am. My name is Lori McDonald, and my husband and I are honored to be the present shopkeepers of the Rosso General Store. So for those of you who aren't aware, at the south end of our township, at the corner of Rice Street and Highway 141, stands the most grand old lady that you will ever see. And she is going to be 150 years old this year. The Rosso Historical Society has written a 60-page book about the history of the store. We know for sure that the lands were originally purchased in 1864, and we know for sure because the property changed hands and the price was quite substantially different, that the building was actually erected in the year of 1874. However, we don't know the exact dates for that. So as we've gone along running the store, we've realized that, well, if they planned for the May weekend of cottage country, they probably didn't make it until, the middle of July. And so we thought, well, maybe this is a little bit about us. So we'll decide on August 10th for the birthday, because that is the week that the store is running as smoothly as it will for the season. So I am here today to invite you all to her birthday party. So Saturday, August 10th at 11:30 a.m., we will be having some unveiling, if you will, of some historical recognition for her. And then we will be having a picnic in the yard from 12 to 2 to honor and celebrate everyone that has a connection with the store. And then that evening, we will be having a dinner party for previous owners, staff, and we also have a staff member who this year is celebrating 30 years with the store, which is quite a substantial contribution. So we're going to be celebrating Debbie Kerr's tenure at the store as well. So I invite you all to participate and please come out and celebrate with us. And the next thing is that I'm also here to ask for our birthday present. So I think a birthday present for a 150-year-old gal is in order, and I figured that I would just come and ask. Around the village, we have beautiful signage that the township and the Historical Society have erected on properties that used to have heritage locations and buildings and things standing. But our grand old lady has never had that. So enclosed in your package is a description of those signs that have been erected in other spots around the township. And in cooperation with the Historical Society, we would be willing to work with them to develop the information that we would like to share with the public moving forward about the store. And we're asking for your participation in erecting that sign, not for Brian and I, because it's not about us, it's about that grand old lady. So
Thank you very much. I think your request is an appropriate birthday present. The first step is to refer the request back to staff, who will find where the money is. In discussion with Dominique, who kind of manages that, we got to get busy if you're going to have it ready for August. That request will go back to staff through Jason. Does council have any questions for the owner of the old lady? Councillor Adams.
pardon?
I just don't want them to know the time.
I promise you that within your mail and your inbox will be an official invitation coming out to you in the next week or so. I'm just waiting for those to return from the printer. And I'll also include a letter saying exactly what's happening that day and what the plan will be.
One quick question. Do you need any street closures?
I don't think so. I think that we're going to try to keep it in the yard as much as we can. You know, our parking lot there is sort of a shared situation. We may want to block off part of that. I guess we should put some thought into that and see whether we may need a protective barrier along there for the day. That might be something we should
Again,
look at.
it's something you should look at and let us know
Okay,
sooner rather than later, because if,
Okay.
depending on how many people you invite and expect,
right.
people are going to spill out of your garden.
Yes, could do so. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much and congratulations. Okay, do we have Bob Baranski here? You are next. Oh, we need to get your presentation. And could you push the little button there on right in the front so the green light comes on?
The slides will be changed for me as I go.
I think so. I think you'll need to give Craig a signal that you
No.
want them changed.
No, that's great because I can't do two things at once. So that's a good thing at this point in time. We all set? Nope. Nope. Okay. We good? No, I'd rather he ran it if you wouldn't mind. I would really appreciate that. Thank you. I'll call for the next slide if that's okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor, councilors, and staff. My name is Bob Baranski. I'm a volunteer with Save Georgian Bay. My family has had property on Georgian Bay for 40 years. We are here today to talk to you about TC Energy's proposed open loop pump storage project. This project will affect the water, land, and air of all the people around Georgian Bay, and the cost will affect all the ratepayers of Ontario. Save Georgian Bay volunteers made up of environmentalists, engineers, and concerned citizens have been diligently studying this project for 5 years. Ontario's energy experts, the Independent Electricity System Operator, has said no to this project twice, at least twice. They are implementing less environmentally damaging, more cost-effective energy solutions, which better serve the ratepayers. TC Energy claims the federal impact assessment process will address any environmental concerns. However, experts have shared that TCE will lead this process and it's a checks a box activity. Next slide, please. This is TC's picture of what they propose. It is a pump storage plant. It does not add electrical generation capacity to the grid. They use more energy to operate than they provide. Pump storage is old school technology. Project is open loop. Open loop means the water being pumped up from a freshwater resource, in this case, Georgian Bay. No open loop pump storage project has been built in North America for 60 years. They are considered too environmentally offensive. TC Energy's proposal will be built on the Niagara Escarpment at the operational military training base in Meaford. It is one of the most contaminated sites in Ontario. This project is massive. Can you picture this? It pumps 23 billion liters of water up the escarpment, stores the water in a 375-acre reservoir, then flushes the water down the escarpment into Georgian Bay every single day. The sheer scale of it raises concerns about the potential environmental impact on the water, land, wildlife, and indeed humans. TC would have you believe the proposed project location is remote, away from populated areas. Their renderings fail to show the 300+ homes directly below the reservoir. There are better options. Next slide. There are three main reasons. Thank you. There are three main reasons why TC Energy's proposal is not a good solution. Number one, it would take a decade to come online. It may not even be needed by the time the construction is completed. Other options are coming onto the grid. They are more predictable, flexible, scalable, efficient, and less costly. Ontario's independent electricity system operator is establishing significant storage solutions that will be operational before the end of the decade. TC is seeking a 50-year contract for its open loop pump storage project, which may not be needed by the time it's constructed. Number two, the pump storage plant would be built too far from energy demand centers and the grid. Using on-the-grid battery storage eliminates the need for new transmission lines. Number three, pump storage wastes more energy than alternate energy solutions. Batteries are 90% efficient. Pump storage is 70% efficient, a big difference. TC's pump storage project would waste the energy of 400,000 homes every day. Ontario should pursue options which are better for ratepayers and our environment. Next slide, please. TC's energy proposed project poses many environmental risks. TC says that the federal impact assessment process will address these issues and that the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation will make sure nothing bad happens. We appreciate and respect Saugeen Ojibwe Nation's role as stewards of the land and the water, as well as their effort to lessen the project's harm to the environment. But this doesn't eliminate the harm of a huge project with many complex variables. There is no getting around the fact that this massive construction project would permanently destroy 500 acres of the Niagara Escarpment. Once destroyed, there is no bringing it back. TC Energy has a history of polluting. We urge you to insist that TC Energy provides proof that they can do this project with no harm. They say they have 4 years of studies on the environment and its habitats, and yet have not shared them. Why would we enable the destruction for a project who may not even be needed? Next slide, please. The 4 CDTC is one of Ontario's most contaminated sites. The project poses a high likelihood of spreading PFAS and other forever chemicals and toxins into the environment. Even the Department of National Defense is concerned. Save Georgian Bay has 2,000 pages of an access to information document from the Department of National Defense that presents the hazard and contaminants on the base. Consider disturbing the earth on 500 acres of this base. A serious rainstorm occurs and runs these invisible chemicals from the exposed earth into the watershed of Georgian Bay. It's an unacceptable risk. If toxins, many of which are carcinogens, with no remedial solution, are spread into the environment, they will be there forever, in the land and the water. Why would we take this immense risk, especially when long-duration battery storage and other new technological solutions are coming online? They offer viable alternatives that do not pose these risks. Next slide, please. TC Energy attempts to greenwash the project, calling it a unique climate initiative. The truth is that all energy storage technologies are climate initiatives, and a better option like batteries eliminates many of the environmental, and financial issues that TCE's proposal does. Interesting, our experts find that TC Energy's pump storage project would actually increase CO2 emissions, and that comparatively long-duration battery storage is more effective at reducing the release of CO2s in the atmosphere. We'd be very happy to share our reports with you so that you can see how we've came to this resolution. It's important to note that we have reached out to TC Energy many times, challenging their claims of CO2 reduction and the harm the project would do. Unfortunately, we have received no answers. They say they have studied the environment for 4 years. Will they prove their claims to you? Will they share their reports with you? Please ask for their data. Next slide, please. You may feel storage is needed and TC Energy's 1,000 megawatt project is the only way to go. Not true. Long duration battery storage is a better solution. Battery parks can be online within a couple of years of being approved and can be built where they are needed. Construction on the grid eliminates the need for new transmission lines. Long duration battery storage also benefits from being more efficient, kinder to the Ontario environment, less costly, and more effective at reducing carbon. Battery technology is also scalable, upgradable, and recyclable. Tesla has begun recycling batteries and is reusing 92% of the components. IESO is now contracting for 2,500 megawatts of battery storage, which will be in place before the end of the decade. The independent electricity system operator sees battery storage as a much better option. Next slide. TC Energy will tell you their project fosters reconciliation. Battery storage project also offered shared economic benefits with Indigenous communities. This past June, the IESO approved 15 long-duration battery storage projects, 9 of which boost 50% participation from Indigenous communities. The IESO has twice rejected TCE's proposal based on lack of value for Ontarians compared to alternatives. Why is it even being considered if the experts say that there are better options? Recent developments like the Greenbelt and Highway 413 cause us to wonder why the Ontario Minister of Energy is driving this. Please send him a letter asking for an explanation and encouraging him to protect Georgian Bay and save ratepayers' money. Save Georgian Bay is not alone in our concerns. Pardon me. Next slide, please. Yes, thank you. Save Georgian Bay is not alone in our concerns. 4 Georgian Bay municipalities have voted against this proposal. The Township of Archipelago, the Town of Blue Mountains, the Township of Georgian Bay, and the Town of Perry Sound. These municipalities rightly recognize that the water touches us all. They have set a top priority on the environment. 3 renowned and widely respected environmental advocates have denounced the project. Rupert Kindersley, Executive Director of Georgian Bay Association, Maud Barlow, co-founder of the Council of Canadians and one of the world's leading experts on freshwater issues, and Jack Gibbons, Chair of Ontario Clean Air Alliance, have all spoken out. Next slide, please. Despite TC's claims, I hope you now understand that their project is not green. It is not needed and would waste a lot more power than alternatives such as batteries. Does not have local support. Why take the risk for a project that offers no value for the people of Ontario? We ask that you join these communities with your own resolution against this project and add your voice to protect the pristine water, beautiful bay, and the escarpment. Thank you for your opportunity to share our concerns with you today.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Does council have any questions for Bob? It's a very comprehensive presentation, and we will take it back to staff to make a recommendation. So I appreciate your time and I appreciate the care you give to Georgian Bay. It's an important resource for all of us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you for your time and your presentation. Who's the gentleman on the screen?
That's Anne, that's Rupert Kindersley. We've met. How are you?
Yes. Okay, do you have something to add, Mr. Kindersley?
No, I think Bob described it very accurately. I'm glad you found it comprehensive and informative. That's good.
Thank you very much, and it is now referred back to staff. So thank you for both of you. I know as volunteers, there's a lot of hours went into that presentation, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby receive staff reports as presented on the agenda and the addendum for May 13th, 2024. I don't need to read all these, do I? Good. May I have a motion? Councillor Getty and Councillor Adams. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, so we do have a lengthy agenda today, so I don't think I can read any faster, but we'll try and move through all these items as quickly as we can. I have a motion that bylaw number 2024-053, being a bylaw to permit retail business establishments to operate on holidays for the maintenance or development of tourism within the Township of Seguin, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. The details of this are in the council package, but I see our Chief of Bylaw, Rory, on screen. Does anybody have any questions for Rory? Basically, you have the dates. The changes are that alcohol cannot be served on Christmas, New Year's Day, but they can remain open. Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Rory, for putting this together. Mine isn't a question. I think that my only concern with this is that with the increase in alcohol sales at two of the retail locations within Seguin, I think that it's incumbent upon us as council and staff to monitor traffic complaints to see if there's an increase in complaints over the next little while. And then I think subsequent to that, it may be something that we have to come back at to look at how we may address that as a council. Supportive of the businesses moving forward, but I think that we have to be cognizant of the potential safety issues that may arise from opening up those businesses for the sale of alcohol at an increase. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I think through the OPP too, we'll do a lot of that traffic monitoring. Could I have a motion to approve this? Councillor Adams and Councillor Bazinski, all in favor? Thank you. And thank you, Rory. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2024-048, being a bylaw to enter into a commercial lease agreement between Mike Beasley and the Corporation of the Township of Seguin for facilities located on Plan 163, Part Lot 18, Village of Rosso, known as 1142 Highway 141, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And this is a renewal of the existing lease for a 1-year period. Are you moving it? Okay, thank you. And Ken, all in favor? Thank you. Dominique, I think. Dominique has a report from Community Services on the Rosso Memorial Hall next steps. Over to you, Dominique.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and Council. This first report, there are quite a number of recommendations, but I will summarize by saying since the public announcement of the very generous donation from Robert Foote, staff is now in the position to advance the hall renovation project. And I would say one of the first steps in that process is to secure a project manager who can be dedicated to overseeing all the aspects of the next steps and from securing architectural design all the way through the construction phase. Staff will continue to find suitable grants and funding sources that we can apply to that align with the project, as well as helping formulate a community fundraising committee. We also have the celebration of the centennial this year, so everything is coming together at the same time. We're well on our way in the planning process, and we have a tentative date of August 16th for the celebration. We will be providing more information about the celebration as we move forward and have that for you. Any questions? I'd be happy to try and answer what I can.
Thank you. You have more details in your council package, but Councillor Bazinski?
Dominique, do you have any general ballpark idea about what it would cost to hire a project manager and how long they would be on for?
I don't, because I don't know how long the project manager would be on for, depending on the project itself. From looking at past projects, I would say we're looking at between $60,000 to $70,000, but it all depends on the timing and what that process looks like. So I can't give you a certain, an accurate number at this time.
Okay, so my question then would be, what is it that we can't do internally that we would require $60,000 to $70,000 to spend on?
I think that's a valid question. I do think that this project is a large project that needs someone that has the time dedicated for it. I would love to do it myself. I don't think I have, enough time, to be honest, with all the other projects going on at the same time this year. I think someone really needs to be looking at it from a construction point of view. That training, that, project management in specific historical context, I think is really important. And I think we would benefit from having someone who has that experience behind them.
And just the final question then, why wouldn't we just look at a design build contractor that would do the management themselves? Because in my experience, when you have a separate manager and then you have a company or series of companies, there's a lot of inefficiency in that. Whereas if you have one company that combines all the skills, usually it's more cost efficient.
And we can certainly look at this. Is by no means set in stone, but I think it's the start of this project that we need to look into what will work best to get this off the ground quickly. And I think, having the gift there is the incentive to move quickly and try and find the right people to get us to the end result.
And I'm going to ask our Chief Administrative Officer to reply to part of that too.
Thank you, Worship. To Councillor Bazinski's question, and for Council's benefit, a request for proposals will be prepared for project management, and it opens up the door to what teams do they want to bring, what are their methodologies behind construction that they want to apply. So I think at this point in time, to determine whether it's design build or it's design bid build, or if it's construction management at risk, the time for that answer will come as the RFPs are presented and we start to understand who's available and what their pricing might look like to provide those services.
Okay, Councillor Adams, you're next.
No, I just think in the past with the other projects that we have done, that they always cost more money. And I think with the project manager overlooking over the whole job, it takes a lot of the pressure off staff. And, committing to the money. And I think with a project manager, they could do everything. They can do your RSPs, your tenders, and they can get the quotes. They'll research it all and they'll do that all for us, where it doesn't take staff time to do that. I just think it'd help the project itself.
Thank you. Councillor Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we should be moving in that direction, as Councillor Adams and Councillor Brzezinski said, simply because we don't want to do it ourselves. And we've always run into issues when that happens. And I could recall the last time we had a a project at that same hall where we were doing it ourselves, and it went over budget, and it was a fiasco. So I think, Dominique, you're going on the right path. And yeah, I mean, once we get to that stage, if we have to keep, and he does a good job, I mean, we could keep him on for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, whatever, right? Depending how capable he is. And I'm sure it'll come to us to hire the man, correct? Or her.
Yes.
Yep. All right.
Thank you. And I think
thanks,
it's
Dominic.
important that we point out, we don't know what we're building yet.
No.
We don't have a plan. We don't know what the kitchen's going to look like. We don't know if there's going to be a daycare. We have not defined, we've defined some stages and some processes, but we need that community input. We do not yet know what we're building and all the pieces in there. So Dominique, I think my perspective, get ready with the RFPs and see what comes back. And it could be a he or a she.
Yes.
So I have, oh, so I'm sorry, Councillor Bazinski?
Sorry, just to follow up on that. We do have the architect's report, which outlined a number of things. And then we had a subsequent follow-up report from the architect. So I'm not necessarily trying to belabor the fact, but I just don't want to, I want to get the most efficient and cost-effective method. That's my only concern. And if it winds up being the project manager, that's fine. But I think we should demonstrate the advantages and disadvantages and costs associated with each before we make the final decision. That's all I'm saying, really. I'd like to see the township not spend more money than they have to on this, because yeah, the 2 million was a great amount of money, but it's even in the subsequent architectural follow-up, they said the project could go over 2 million. So, you know, we want to make sure that it's cost effective now, because some of the other projects that have been undertaken in the region have not been. That's my only concern. Let's make sure we're not being ineffective with our money.
Thank you. Councillor Fellner.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mayor. No, I think it's important to note that what we've seen previously with regards to what the Rosso Community Center could be, were in fact very conceptual, right? And the one thing that where design build might perhaps not be the preferred choice here is you still have the public input that you need to satisfy. There's no point in doing something that basically the majority of the people don't want. And that's, so you need to keep that element of control in your project. My experience with project management is it's in order to bring a budget, to bring a project in on budget, you far better probability of doing it with an experienced project manager than trying to wing it with the inexperienced staff. And a good project manager will simplify the public engagement process, the design process, the permitting process, and then as well, you know, ensure that what is proposed and approved can be actually built within the financial constraints. So I think Dominique's going the right way here, and you know, it's the old adage, if you don't look, you don't know. So let's see some proposals.
Thank you. Okay, Dominique, I think you're on.
Thank you.
You're on for the next couple, so I will
Yes.
read the next motion. That the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby state Council's intention to designate the Rosso Memorial Hall under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act in accordance with the Statement of Significance attached to Schedule A from ERA Architects. So this is to look for the heritage designation for the hall. It will open more doors for grants and preserve something that's pretty important in the town of Russell. Could I have a mover? Terry? And Ken? Seconder? All in favor? Great. One more thing on your plate, Dominique. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2024-056, being a bylaw to enter into a land use agreement for the purpose of a Rosso Farmers Market between Rosso Farmers Market Board and the Corporation of the Township of Seguin for use of facilities at the Rosso Waterfront Park is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a mover? Greg and Ken. And Dominique, do you want to speak to this a little bit? I think your report's pretty comprehensive, but.
Yeah, this is a 5-year agreement with the Farmers Market Board. There are no significant changes. We've had a great partnership for the past, I don't even know how many years, and we want to continue that partnership. This is just putting it all on paper and making sure everybody knows exactly what's in the agreement. The market obviously continues to be a great success, and we just want to help that continue.
Thank you. Any questions from council? All in favor? Thank you. Oh, this is the docks, and we deferred it.
Yes. So it's already moved by Kim.
And Mary. Okay, this one is coming back to us, and I will read the motion that bylaw number 2024-015, being a bylaw to regulate the use of township docks and boat launches, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And I will refer that it was moved by Ken Adams and seconded by Mario Bazinski on February 5th. And we deferred it, asking staff to define the types of boat launches and public spaces better. And that is all in your agenda package, pages and pages of it. So do we have any questions for Dominique? Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Dominique, could you point out in this report about the Rosso docks in Rosso that's owned by the township, and what's being done with boats that are being docked there overnight, and people are using them as their personal docks, our docks as their personal dockage? Could you point that out?
So I'll ask Rory to step in as well, because he might be able to point it out there. It is in the bylaw. And there is new signage since last year. Based on Rory's recommendation, we did install new signage that hopefully will better reflect the bylaw. Rory, do you know exactly where that's referenced in the bylaw?
I can certainly pull that up for you.
Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. Give me just 2 seconds and I can pull that up as far as the section goes. And as far as enforcement goes, generally speaking, we are compliance driven first, which means that we're looking to resolve matters where we can prior to moving forward with any kind of legal pursuances. Generally speaking, that's done through conversations, issuances of notices, where we can kind of steer compliance. Where that can't be done, then we may have to move forward with legal pursuances. However, generally speaking, more times than not, we're able to resolve things through conversations and steering compliance. Just bear with me while I pull up that answer for you.
And while you're pulling that up, Councillor Collins, I'd just like to point out there are a number of mostly commercial vessels at this point that do contact us. And just to reference something that happened a few weeks ago, someone's commercial vessel broke down. They phoned us to say, you know, it is going to be parked there until we can get the proper part and get it fixed. And as long as we're told that this is what's going on, it makes a world of difference, because then bylaw knows, I know, and, you know, we can, you know, actually have that documented.
Thank you, Dominique. The commercial vessels, I don't have an issue with. it's private owners
Yes.
that are using it for going back and forth to their cottages and using our docks as their private dockage. And is there going to be any lease agreements? Is there going to be any fines? Like this has been going on forever and it seems to be the same people. So I'm just wondering, when are we going to have closure?
Rory?
I think,
Or I was going to say
Okay,
Rory's
go ahead.
got the
ahead.
portion of the bylaw, I think, in front of him. Go ahead, Rory.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So the current bylaw, the regulations would be under section 6 of our current bylaw. I'm more than happy to discuss the proposal that's on the plate at this juncture. However, under our current bylaw, regulations are overnight mooring as well as mooring in excess of an hour, except for the Rosso waterfront. There's an exemption on that section. And then just talking about that one point on enforcement, you know, there has been a number of conversations or files that have been endeavored upon where, you know, legal action may be something that we may pursue. However, as of now, we've been getting compliance through our notices and or conversations. However, if something comes up, I would kindly ask that gets referred to bylaw for us to investigate.
Thank you. And I think it's very important to realize that the marina has slips for rent. And that's their business. So it shouldn't be free on our dock.
No, that's exactly where I'm coming from, because when I go to Perry Sound to dock my boat, I pay $2,300 a year. So, or for the season, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah. And the new marina has slips for rent. Councillor Bazinski.
Could you define the Otter Lake Long Arm access point in terms of use to either Rory or Dominique? And I'll explain why I'm asking the question, because I find this is, you know, the parks and open space and docks, you know, and boat launches, it's all combined together. I still have a problem in that the water is now open. Contractor's ready to use the long arm in his septic tank installation business, but he has no direction in terms of what's allowed. You know, and I'm happy to hear you say, Dominique, that, you know, somebody advised the township that their equipment had broken down, and so they were going to have to spend an extended amount of time on that particular boat launch that you were talking about. But there's nothing really to define that in here, or so I have a problem. I have to talk to about 4 people that are waiting for their septic tank installation, and I'm not sure what I can tell them. And reading this bylaw, I'm still not sure what I can tell them, because it's not really clear to me.
I think what will be important is, not that I want more signage at all our boat launches, but I do think it's important to have signage letting contractors know the process. So as simple as a, you know, if there's the easy permit solution on the website, or a phone call, or in person, we're trying to make that as easy as possible for people. And it will be a transition, but I think that signage is the first step to communicating this new sort of system that we're moving towards. I don't think it's going to negate the fact that people will use these spots for you know, commercial use. And I don't think we're trying to stop that as well.
Well, the past summer, the one contractor was threatened with removal of his equipment, and I just like to make something clear to the contractors using it. And in my ward, it really comes down to one boat launch, which is the long arm access point, which has no docks or any other municipal facilities associated with it. It's just somewhere they can pull their boat up or their barge in this case and load and unload stuff. So if you have something, not necessarily the bylaw, but if you have something, a notice from Seguin Township explaining this process for contractors, that would be wonderful, because then we could circulate it to the lake associations. I could circulate it to this particular contractor from last year, so there'll be no misunderstandings, if you like. So I'd appreciate that as quickly as possible, because I'm finding that the bylaw still it throws everything in with parks and open spaces. It tries to cover everything in one document, and I'm not that comfortable with it personally.
I'm going to ask our CAO to speak to that, but the application for any commercial use is on the website.
Thank you, Worship. I think it's important to note there are two bylaws presented to you here today. One is boats, boat launches and docks, and the other is parks. They're two separate bylaws, so there is clarity around park use versus that around boat launches and dock use. With the implementation of any new bylaw, of course, the most important component that happens next, assuming council adopts this, is the communication strategy and how and what we do to inform the public of what the changes are. And the public can be everybody from the neighbors next door to the commercial users that are putting septic systems in on Otter Lake. So if council does endorse this and pass this bylaw today, these bylaws today, we will endeavor to get an effective communication strategy out and speak to folks. And of course, we encourage anybody that if you have questions about the new bylaw to just give us a call, and we're happy to walk them through it. There are things like permits that can be issued, no fees associated with any of this, but just to track and make sure that we're doing the right things and we have the right liabilities covered off on our properties. There are some processes within these bylaws that help ensure we're protected, and frankly, that the contractors or users are protected. So for any commercial use, of course, there'd be a permit issued, whether it's a one-time or an annual. There's a variety of different ways to implement the permits for folks. And it's just simply communicating with them to make sure that they understand what they need to do, and we need to make sure that we're communicating what the changes are for everybody's benefits.
Councillor Adams, you're next.
I'll be brief. I was just concerned about the island people, and I had a great conversation with Dominique this afternoon. And we kind of cleared that up with the island people and permits, because some of the places I got concerns where they are up for, they are up for the summer, and they do park for the summer. So my concern was just the island people to make sure they had places to park. And Dominique and I clarified that this afternoon, which was great.
Thank you. Councillor Bazinski.
Yeah, no, and from what you're saying, I'd be quite happy if I could get an information piece from the township that we could put out. I think that would resolve a lot of the issue then. Thank you.
We're happy to do that, Councillor Brzezinski, and of course, we'll share it with all of council so you can share it with your constituents across the municipality.
Councillor Feldner.
Dominique, oh yeah, sorry. Dominique, I think you mentioned that the parking in Rosso currently or as proposed would be only for an hour, except for when the farmer's market is that correct?
Are you talking about parking or mooring?
We're parking a boat.
Okay,
Mooring a
mooring,
boat.
yeah.
Yeah, parking a
So
boat.
in Rosso is a little bit different from all the other ones. So Rosso is, you can park over an hour in Rosso. There's no
Oh, okay.
definitive, except for the overnight parking, you can park in Rosso for more than an hour. Whereas the
Okay.
other boat launches is an hour.
Okay, fine, thank you. So-
Yeah.
Okay. All in
Overnight
favor?
parking then? No,
No overnight.
but if you go to Crossroads and take
All-
3 hours.
Councillor Collins, Councillor Fellner, we're voting on this.
Are we? Okay.
All in favor? Are you in favor?
Yeah.
Thank you. That is carried, and today is May 13th. Thank you very much, Dominique and Rory. Signage and a communication piece will help everybody. Okay, I have a bylaw number 2024-016, being a bylaw to regulate and govern the use of and activities permitted within township parks and open space, and to repeal bylaw 2005-053 and all of its amending bylaws in their entirety, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And this refers to the second part of what Jason spoke to. So it was moved by Gail Finson and seconded by Ken Adams on February 5th and deferred to today. Are there any further questions with the changes that have been made and the clarifications? Nope. All in favor? And that is now carried. May. Okay. Okay, we're moving into the planning section of the agenda. I have a bylaw that bylaw number 2024-054, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-040-002-05900, R 2024-0002-C for Christie, concession 9, part lots 7 and 8, PCL 13831 SS is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I'll remind you that this is the Tub Lake discussion that we had last meeting, and we have Jamie and Lee here from MHBC to talk about it. But first I need a mover and a seconder. Ted and Ken. So Jamie, do you want to tell us what we're being asked to approve here?
Certainly. Good evening, or sorry, good afternoon, Your Worship. So what's being proposed here is the applicants have applied for a zoning bylaw amendment, and it's to facilitate the development of a existing property that currently they cannot obtain a building permit for because there's no access to a municipally maintained road. So it seeks an exception to the bylaw to allow for access not on a municipally maintained road. And in this case, access is provided by the Seguin Trail. There are some other lots in the area that do obtain access by the Seguin Trail, and the properties front on Tub Lake. So as part of this amendment, it would be to establish a limited service zone for the subject lands. It's not proposing any changes to the environmental protection zoning that exists on the site currently. And one of the requirements of the limited service residential zone is that there be an agreement with the municipality recognizing how access is being provided, and that those limited service properties don't obtain the same sorts of service levels that one might expect if a property is accessed through a municipally maintained road. So that's really the background of the proposal, and staff's recommendation is that council approve the bylaw.
Thank you. Are there any questions? I think it's a workable solution. Councillor Fellner, you have a question?
I just want to make a point. Though, that you know, we're not in the position to grant the access. It's up to the owner to deal with the Crown to get the proper documentation to get access, and we'll have to abide by the limitations that they do. That this one is a bit of a different cat, so just I want you to be aware. So that's it.
I'm assuming that building will advise the applicant that they are responsible for going to M&R for the actual permitting. All in favor? Thank you. And that is carried.
Thank you, Worship. Council.
Thank you very much, Jamie. I have bylaw number 2024-047, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a license agreement between the Corporation of the Township of Seguin, George Arthur Hannenson, Julie May McBride LeBlanc, Stephanie Ann Cook, Karen Diane Arnold, and Randall Maliski for lands described as Water Street, PL 163, BTN, Part 1, 42R 10679, and Part 3, 42R 13469. Seguin being the land described in PIN 52199-0576 LT is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I think Brady or maybe Taylor. Brady is going to speak to this. Thank you. Brady, can you tell us a little bit about what this is about?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. The applicant submitted a license agreement application to conduct repairs to an existing private dock along the Rossel Bay waterfront. So the license agreement will authorize the owners of the shoreline structure to obtain a building permit to repair that structure on the public lands. So staff are recommending that council pass the bylaw to authorize the execution of the license agreement.
Thank you. And Councillor Finson, I see your hands up.
My question is that the license agreement I don't agree with the license agreement as it is. The language in the license agreement, I don't agree with, and I would like to see the language in the license agreement before it's passed changed. And the language I'm speaking of is the language that says that the property can be removed at the town's asking. So I disagree with that. The $5 million liability insurance is also another problem I have with the license agreement. So that's all.
Have you discussed this with staff?
Yes.
In advance of the
I
meeting?
have. Yes, I have.
Okay, Brady, are these standard elements for all of the boathouses? Or I see Taylor has weighed in.
I'll
Taylor
jump
or
in on
Brady,
Gail.
help us here.
Oh, sorry. Gail and I did speak on this beforehand. The requirements that Gail's talking about, the insurance, that is recommended by our lawyer. We did verify the amount. It could be lowered, but I wouldn't recommend getting rid of the insurance requirement in its entirety. The other requirement where the township can kind of waive the agreement and have the structure torn down at any point. The reason that was recommended is it came from our lawyer, and it was in the last agreement that was proposed to another property owner. So we were trying to stay consistent as staff with what was done previously. If there is interest in forwarding Councillor Finison's recommendation, that was an option in the report. I believe it was option 2 that could be considered. I do believe though the applicant didn't object to it, so I'll just let council discuss it and staff will follow whatever direction is given.
Just a question, Taylor, if we had revised this one, do we have to go back and revise the previous ones?
The previous one that requirement was never executed, and there was one about 10 or 12 years ago that didn't have that requirement. So I'm not sure if council ever specifically said to have that requirement in it. I couldn't find that in my research, but the insurance is fairly standard. So I would just exercise caution in reducing that requirement to nothing.
Councillor Finson.
I would like to say that I'm speaking. Can't you hear me? Jesus.
We couldn't at first.
Okay. I would say that the agreement, that there has not been an agreement signed, and that agreement never came before council. So I can tell you that for sure, that agreement, the agreement that's on the table now has never come before council before, because I asked about it. I went in and had a meeting with Stephen and Chris, and I was told that no, like they didn't know when it was and blah, blah, blah. And I asked them, well, did the person that has the license agreement that's on the waterfront there, did they have it? And they said no, they did not. So as far as I know, Lenny Gantz was the only one that did not. His lawyer recommended he not sign that agreement. And the other boathouse that was worked on was Dale Enerson's, and he just did what he wanted without an agreement. So there are no agreements as of right now. And Mr. George, he felt that he had no choice but just to go with that agreement. So that's where I'm coming from. I would like, if the insurance is fine, if you want to leave the insurance in, but the ability to take the boathouse down at the township's whim I don't think it should be there. I think that should be removed. I would like to move that be removed.
Before we have a motion, we need to have this motion on the table. So can I have a mover and a seconder to get it on the table? Thank you, Ken. Can I have a seconder? Thanks, Ted. Counselor Bazinski.
Taylor, what's the land use tenure on that boathouse? Is it a lease, license of occupation, patented land, or what?
It is not patented land. I think it's I get confused on the legal terminology, but it's more akin to a license of occupation.
By the Ministry of Natural Resources or the township?
Both. So there has to be a license agreement by the Ministry of Resources because it's on the Crown bed, but where it's anchored to the township own Water Street road allowance, that's why we're also in the picture.
So Counselor Finson, are you recommending a deferral of this? So construction cannot start till it comes back to council.
Well, no, I'm not. I'm not recommending a deferral of the one if he wants to sign that, but I would like the language changed. I would like to make a motion to have the language that allows the township to take it down at their whatever. I would like that language to be taken out, and then you can pass. I want him to have his boathouse fixed for sure. He's been working on this for 10 months now. So yes, I do want him to have his boathouse done, and when I was told there was no problem, that it should be able to go forward. I'm just thinking if you do it if you agree with this now, then when people in the future are going, there's another one that needs fixing, and they're going to have to be presented with this same thing. So I'd rather see the lease agreement changed now, tonight, to take just that language out that says that they can be taken down whenever the township says they can. Because I don't think that is a possibility.
We're not objecting to that, but from a process point of view, it will need to go back to our lawyers before we change the wording. So Taylor,
Really?
I need some help from you. And the clerk has indicated that we can't rewrite it here.
And I would defer to Craig for his opinion on this, but the way the bylaw is set up, it allows the mayor and clerk that they're authorized to execute and fix the agreement. The provision Councillor Finison is speaking of is 5 subsection 4. So I would envision if council debates the motion and ultimately votes on it, since it wouldn't need to be signed tonight, or that could just be crossed out after the fact, it could be done in that way. I don't believe it has to go back to the lawyer. They recommended that this provision is in our favor and our benefit. It gives, when I say our, I mean the township, it gives us a bit more authority in it, but it's not legally, it's not you shall do it. They just said it's better for us at the end of the day.
See, we don't have any of that wording in the motion. So we're a little bit at a loss.
Well,
what comes, it's not here, Gail. So what, I guess, Craig, do you want to be here?
Sure. I believe what the mayor is trying to say is we don't have a signed agreement from these people. We don't have the agreement in front of us. We have a bylaw authorizing the execution of the agreement. So we can't here at the table take it out because we don't have that actual agreement at the table. So my question would be to Taylor, is he okay with what Councillor Finson's proposing? Because I can't say we are because I can't see it.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, staff's recommendation is for the bylaw as it's submitted and written as is. We're we're following through on our lawyer's recommendation. The less preferred approach would be to deviate from that stance. However, it's largely a political decision in my opinion. If it was to remove the insurance in its entirety, I would say that would be a much bigger, serious matter that we would not want to do.
Thank you. Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm reading the agreement. I see 5, number 4 that Gail's upset with. And it says, shall upon the termination of this agreement forthwith remove the dock and boathouse. But then if it goes back to 4, pardon me, now let me see it here. I guess it's 3B defines, so that this agreement is basically good in perpetuity unless one of 2 things happens. One is that the ownership of the licensed areas, transfer of the ownership of the licensed area from the township to the licensee, then that agreement will terminate. Or if the owner removes his dock or boathouse, it'll terminate. So I'm not really
I think
sure
that there's a spot-
where the situation, excuse me. Oh, I'm not really sure, although I see the concern. I'm not really sure. It's in there, but I don't know how on earth it would ever be enacted, that clause, right? I mean, it wouldn't be the township's decision, it would be the owner's decision to take the boathouse down, so.
No.
I just don't see it, I'm sorry, but I'm trying to see it, but I don't see it, so.
Okay, Councillor Finson.
I'm pretty sure Taylor can answer that question. He knows where it is. It is in that license agreement because it was put in there by Chris and Steve, from my understanding. It was new. It was added to the license agreement. Anyway, Taylor, I think, knows.
Okay, CAO.
Perhaps Mr. Elgie can confirm, but under section, and perhaps this is what Councillor Finson's speaking of, under section 5C reads, if the licensee fails to maintain in safe condition, repair or remove the dock and boathouse as required by this agreement, the township may alter, repair, or remove the same. I'm trying to determine which language it is because there's a few spots where it references the removals to Councillor Fellner's point under certain conditions. So in order for us to, maybe I'm asking Taylor, do you know specifically, Taylor, which section Councillor Finson raised as a concern? Because I don't.
Several.
There's several references to the removal of within this agreement.
Yes, it's section 3. Sorry, I misspoke a little bit before. Section 3 gives us the discretion to remove it whenever we want to. And then under 5, once the agreement's terminated, it would have to go away. The dock and the boathouse would have to go away at the licensee's sole expense. So it works in conjunction with each other.
So there are several places in order to meet Councillor Finson's goals, there are several places that the wording probably needs to be carefully looked at to remove it. So I'm going to suggest that we defer for 2 weeks to Taylor and Councillor Finson, and the lawyers can tackle all the pieces that go together. I personally am not in favor of removing the insurance piece, but I think there's so many pieces interlocked here that I don't think we should be writing it here.
Can I just?
Councillor Collins, yes.
Yes. Does this owner, resident, does he have an agreement? Does he have a signed agreement, Gail? Taylor?
Well, he's
Gail?
in the process right now. Taylor can answer. Taylor can answer that.
As far as I'm aware, there's no agreement with this group of owners. They did write in and say that they were okay with the agreement as drafted in the agenda tonight.
But we haven't got any conclusive evidence that they are all in agreement.
They did email us and say they were, so, well, sorry, the one acting for the group of them emailed us and said they agreed with it.
Well, then it's my opinion that we should defer it at this time. Just so we could, get a better handle on it moving forward.
Okay, just, we could do that, or as the CAO has said, is if the 5 people named on this do not have a problem with it, they have signed it, he is suggesting we should vote on it and decide tonight if they're okay with it. These 5 people are okay with the way it's worded.
But should an agreement go? But an agreement should go both ways, right? I mean, they should have something in their hands.
Which they do. They have this.
They have that,
There,
each one of them.
my understanding is the 5 parties associated with this agreement have a copy of this agreement, have indicated that they have no concerns with it and they're prepared to execute it.
Okay. One comment from Councillor Getty, and then I think we need to vote.
No, I'll make it quick, but I think in fairness, Councillor Finson has asked either for a deferral or
Mhm.
for a section to be removed. And I think in respect of her request for a deferral, if there is a second, we would need it. If that's the case, then we would need a seconder. But I don't think that, initially, I believe that Councillor Finson said either defer it or remove the section. So I don't think we should be putting it forward. We should be addressing her request for a deferral first.
Okay, so it is complicated, so I need a motion to defer.
Well, as long as Gail says she's requesting, then we need a seconder. If there's no seconder, it doesn't happen.
Gail, are you requesting a deferral so it can be properly edited?
Yes, please.
Yeah, okay, so the deferral is being,
So Gail requested deferral, nothing yet. You need a seconder on that.
could we have a seconder for deferral? Ted Collins, okay. So now what do I,
So now is it deferred to next meeting or
let's say deferred for the next meeting, which is 2 weeks hence.
so then you vote on the deferral?
Deferred to whatever, it's gonna be June
3rd,
June 3rd.
but you need to vote on the deferral.
All in favor of deferring? Okay, so that is carried as deferral, and Taylor and the lawyer and everybody else can get at the various pieces that affect it. Thank you very much. That what I did? Okay. This one?
Skip the rest.
Okay. This one.
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion that bylaw number 2024-004, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-040-001-03010, application number R 2023-0005-C for Ustic is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. And this was deferred pending a site visit in May. It was originally moved by Ken Adams and seconded by Mario Bazinski. And Taylor, can you speak to this one to tell us how the site visit went?
I went for the site visit last year, but I believe a couple of counselors did attend this site. So I have nothing to update in that regard. I would like to note though that they do have septic approval authority from the Conservation Authority. So they have a permit issued, the specifics of which I'm not too familiar with. But it's brought back for council's consideration after being deferred in January.
Councillor Collins?
Yeah, this is in my ward. And there's been a lot of concerns about this from neighbors' concerns, of course. This lot has been, this is a designated building lot, SR1, and it was established in 1975. But because of the topographical nature of the land itself, it's very steep. And it's long, but not wide from the road to the water. I have met with neighbors. We talked about this. Their concerns is not only the topographical nature of the land itself, but the septic system as well. But again, Seguin doesn't control septics in Seguin. It's North Bay Mattawa, and they have approval for their septic system. The adjustments that they were hoping for has been changed from a 14-meter setback to a 17-meter setback. And that is in conjunction with if the building was built and they were allowed to build a dock or a deck, it would be a 17-meter setback. So I've got them back to that part there. I've been working on this for a couple of years. So there is a limited area for a building to be erected. But what we've done with that situation is that we've got it under site plan control. Okay. It'll be scrutinized from the start to the finish. The land hasn't even been surveyed yet to have a building on it. So that's the start of it. And because of the nature of the lot itself being a building lot, and it's been there since 75, it's already been approved by our building department, planning department, I should say, too, as well. And I think that because of the site plan control, that it may or may not be built on in the future, but we've got to approve it and move on. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Councillor Collins, for continuing to pursue it. Taylor, do you have something to add?
Yes, I'd just like to note, Councillor Collins spoke of an increased 17-meter setback. I believe that might require a motion from Councillor Collins and then council debate on an amended bylaw, which Craig should have a copy of.
The clerk has noted that, and that's all we need, apparently. Because we're going to vote on this as it stands. It was originally brought forward in January. The pieces are in place.
Exactly. Final.
So all in favor? So we are carried on May 13. Thank you very much for sticking with it, Councillor Collins. And now we move on to, oh, thank you. The pieces of paper have moved off my desk for now. Tannenbaum.
So
Chris House is here.
yes, and Melissa.
So I have a motion that bylaw number 2024-036, being a bylaw to amend Township of Seguin zoning bylaw number 2006-125, property roll number 4903-010-001-16401, application number R 2024-0008-H for Tannenbaum, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. It was moved originally by Terry Fellner, seconded by Gail Finson. A deferral was moved by Councillor Fellner and seconded by Councillor Getty to bring it back on May 13th, which is today. So Councillor Fellner, would you like to talk to it first? And I see Chris House and Melissa are here if there are questions.
Thank you, Mayor. So this one was, we deferred that decision until we could, is that thing on? Yeah, till we could get some further information there was concerns in the neighborhood. It's a fairly large ask for maximum lot coverage. The planning department has received a great deal more information. I think the applicant's planner has done a good job with providing, and contractor have done a good job with providing conceptual drawings that lead us to believe that based on the current condition of the site and when the work that was done prior to the implementation of the site alteration bylaw, that the applicant's request for a lower, longer building will result in development with far less visual impact from the lake. They do have, however, some concerns yet, because as I said, the drawings I felt were conceptual in nature and lacked some detail that may be required in the site plan agreement. That is the condition site plan control agreement. So I'm proposing an amendment to the Craig, help me out here. Amendment to the
It's an amendment to the Schedule B.
Schedule B, which just sort of clarifies that we're going to require a little bit more detail to be included, a little bit more detail on some of the drawings that will be included in the site plan control, particularly the reforestation, to do with the reforestation of the lands and the implementation of the site stormwater management plan. My expectations that the consultant, which I thought was an excellent document, be our expectations that consultant engineer would provide the monitoring of that on to see that the plan is adhered to and after major storm events that there hasn't been significant breaches, and report back to council, that type of thing. So, just a bit more detail, bit more information, I think, and to put together a quantitative site plan control document. And I have the opinion that I would be prepared to vote in favor of the increase. So I guess I'm looking for someone
Okay.
to.
Couple things.
Ended, I guess.
I goofed in not mentioning that in the addendum, there is a subsequent letter from the Muskoka Lakes Association.
Right.
So that's in the addendum.
Right.
And I was going to ask Taylor if you could read the proposed amendment so council knows exactly what we're voting on. So we don't have it here.
Sorry, is that the amendment that Terry is getting ready to put forward?
Yes.
Give me 1 second, let me get it on my screen here. So under the bylaw, the last page has a table called column 6. It will note, I'll just read it all. Development shall be subject to site plan control pursuant to section 41 of the Planning Act to require the reforestation of the land, which includes, but is not limited to, the implementation of HLD conceptual drawings SPA 001 and the site plan prepared by HLD, the stormwater management report prepared by PEL, the conceptual revegetation and irrigation plans prepared by HLD as amended, and final detailed revegetation, elevation, and finished floor elevation drawings. The main thrust of the change is it notes that the plans that we originally had were not the only ones, but they were limited, but could expand upon those plans. More emphasis on reforestation, noting that the plans submitted during the zoning stage were conceptual, and the last bit about final, more detailed revegetation, elevation, and finished floor elevation drawings will be required in the site plan approval process.
Thank you very much. I think basically what it is more details. I do want to point out that site plans themselves don't come back to council and don't go to public for editing or redrawing or anything. That is the purview of our planning department. So Terry, you are making the motion for that amendment. Oh, what do I write down?
Just give a second.
And can I have a seconder for that? Ken Adams? Okay, so. Does HLD have anything to add? Are you comfortable with the amendment?
Vote on the amendment.
Okay, so we're voting on the amendment. All in favor? And that is carried. What the hell do I write down? Sorry. Okay, and you're gonna press 2024. So it is, oops, sorry, so that is carried today, and the addendum, the amendment is attached to the motion. So thank you all for your patience, and Councillor Fellner for doing the neighborhood consultation. So we move on to item K. No controversy here. We have a report on the Della Maestra property. And I think it's really just for information, isn't it? Yeah, it's Taylor, 561. Taylor, I think from the, can you weigh in a little bit on the Della Maestra? This is just for information, is it not?
Staff's recommending that a decision on it continue to be deferred. We have the question out to the applicant and their agent on how this zoning essentially would take effect. At a previous council meeting, council said that the restricted covenant which prohibits a boathouse was going to remain on title. Although that is technically siloed and independent of this zoning request, at the end of the day, they both lead to the same thing of wanting to put a boathouse on title. In a very odd way, if council or the OLT were to permit a boathouse, there would still be a legal or an enforcement issue or a court matter with the restrictive covenant. So it just doesn't seem good planning to me that you can have these two mutually exclusive processes leading to the same conclusion, whether or not boathouse is permitted on site. So essentially, we're asking for greater clarity and understanding from either their agent or their planner, because it's our understanding that the Ontario Land Tribunal, even if this is appealed, cannot deal with the restrictive covenant.
Thank you for the explanation. According to the clerk, that basically means that is for information only, and until some solid recommendation comes back one way or another, there's no action for council. Thank you. Okay, we move on to Public Works and Tom, I believe, on our operational plan for Public Works.
Thank you, Marin.
I think it's pretty comprehensive, but do you want to summarize quickly?
Thank you, Marin, Council. Yeah, this is just a bird's eye view of Public Works actions this summer. As I was writing this report, I kept adding a lot of stuff in, but I was just like, I'll just keep it high level. There's a lot of outstanding work orders, finish up on capital projects, Starlight Road. If you walk Rose Point Trail or drive over the South Seguin States Bridge, just off the 518, you'll see there's new decking that has been completed in the last week or so. So that was a much needed task. But yeah, I'm here to answer any questions, and if there's anything else that you may think that's not on this report, we can chat about it by phone call, email. I'm available anytime.
Thank you very much. You've got your work cut out for you. Councillor Fellner.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was under the impression that the Starlake Road project was a 2-year project, but it looks to here that it's a 3-year project. You just kind of elaborate that, Tom, what's the plan like for this year and what's the plan for, I guess, phase 3, we'd have to approve that, but phase 2, I guess, is, so what's going on this year? What's going on next year, or proposed for next year?
Yeah, so thank you. This year, we're finishing to Sugar Lake Road to Hart Road, so it's about 3 kilometers. Star Lake Road's about 8 kilometers. Now, I know there's some paving the first half kilometer just due to heavy trucks. It's a busy road. And then surface treated beyond that. So this year is just, there's a couple of little outstanding issues, hard top it. And then next year, based on what information we have, from this last contract, we can tailor to within our budget, how far along we can go for phase 2. And if it's just a little bit more to maybe add in phase 3, we can combine the two to call phase 2, and it's the rest of the road. But as it stands right now, we're just working through some projections of how much the last phase is going to cost. And I don't have that dollar figure right now, or that length of road that we're going to be proceeding with on the next phase or 2.
So, no, okay, so now, okay. So phase 2, which is being done this year, right? Last year they did a lot of drainage work, I noticed, and some grading. They're doing some ditching, I saw. So that was phase 1, and then phase 2 is did they get down the entire length of it last year with the drainage? And oh, they didn't.
We're still in phase 1. They weren't able to, the weather kind of caught up to us in terms
Right.
of not being able to pave. So we're still in phase 1.
Right, so then capital for the phase 1 project was pushed to
Yeah,
this
the
year?
completion date to this year. Yes.
Okay,
correct.
so that was budgeted in the previous budget, right? So.
That's correct.
And you haven't started the phase 2 work yet then? You're gonna finish the phase 1 work and then start the phase 2 work?
And then phase 2 pending council approval. So I'm going through a budget right now in terms of what everything looks like for phase for next year.
Oh, okay, so then.
Yeah,
and
so
phase 3 is
2025.
2026, 27. Okay, I skipped a
Yeah.
year. I'm very sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's okay. That's okay.
happens with more and more frequency these days than you'd believe, so thanks very much, Tom.
Councillor Collins.
Yeah. And I would just like to add that they're laying fiber optics now. And they've got it to Hart Road on Star Lake Road. So they've gone from Sugar Lake Road, from the corner of the 518, Sugar Lake Road, and Star Lake Road to Hart Road. So that's important as well, because we have to lay the fiber before we finish the tar and chip or whatever we're doing. Yeah. So that's happening right now as we speak.
Councillor Fellner. Anybody over here got a comment? Councillor, no, okay, Councillor Fellner.
Just a question, Tom, on the fiber. Do you have input as to where in the road allowance they're gonna lay that?
Yes, so they're basically going on the shoulder of the road, as far over as they can. And there's gonna be a couple crossings. I've made sure that they display an abundance of notification that there is buried fiber here at this location. So it's that's what's gonna happen. So, yeah. So we're in very close contact. I just had an updated work plan for them this morning.
Right.
They're going to continue on. So
So it's actually going in the shoulder of the road. It's not going actually in the
yeah,
in the ditch area.
Nope, not in the ditch, just in the shoulder of the road.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
CAO Inwood would like to weigh in.
Just to add to Tom's comments, we provide municipal consent for all the work within the roadway, and the contractors are obligated to provide us with as-built drawings at the completion of the project. So we'll be able to layer it in with our GIS data, and we'll have accurate record of where all the fiber is for Councillor Fellner's points.
Does council have any further questions for Tom? Nope, it's nice to see the detail at the council table, so thank you for providing it. So this is number M. I have a motion that the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby award Plan Mac Engineering, Inc., the detailed design of Blackwater Road for $108,145 plus HST to be funded from a combination of the Public Works General Consulting capital budget and up to an additional $43,145 from the Capital Reserve Fund. Could I have a motion to this effect? Seconder. Fellner. Does anybody have any questions for Tom on this? It's been a long time coming. We know that. All in favor? Thank you. Great, Tom. Onward. And I have a motion that as per the recommendation of staff report number RD 2024-010, the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby award the Standing People Road hydro installation to Reed Utility Services in the amount of $65,281.36 plus applicable taxes. Could I have a motion to this effect? Ken and Mario. All in favor? Again, we've been waiting, so that's great news. Thank you. All in favor, and that's carried. We got one more for Tom. And the Conservation and Demand Management Plan, there was an addendum item for this, which was quite lengthy. I don't know that most people will have been able to read or digest it. Forrest, can you give us a top line because we just got it?
Absolutely. I'm happy to do that, Your Worship. So the Coles notes of the Conservation and Demand Management Plan is, I've summarized it fairly succinctly within the report, but the idea being we are obligated to manage and maintain a Conservation and Demand Management Plan. As you know, we have done a fair bit of work within the energy management, climate change space. And so to align all of the work that we've undertaken as part of the climate action plans, we have dovetailed those goals directly to this conservation and demand management plan as not to duplicate work. Really, the difference at the end of the day is in the units that we're reporting on, and the CDMs generally recommend we report in equivalent kilowatt hours, but our climate action plans are largely based within tons of greenhouse gas emissions. And so the goals, they align, the reporting will align because we're tracking all of it within the back end of the system. And ultimately, the report, take the time that you need to review it and understand it. It is fairly long, and you will note within the addendum that you received today was the final facility energy audit reports, which we just received on Friday. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any questions now or at any time prior to the next meeting when we will be bringing this back to council, as we are obligated to pass a conservation and demand management plan every 5 years on July 1st.
Thank you. Just a question. As I looked at some of our buildings, looks like some of them don't even have walls or windows. What are the next steps? Are we supposed to fix them all?
In time. So that's one thing that we will need to discuss. And it's in general terms, as I've referenced it within the financial sections of my staff report, all of the work that's required by any of these plans, it has to fit within our capital asset management plans. It has to slot within asset replacement schedules, et cetera. And above and beyond that, what we very much need to pursue is any funding opportunities that are available by way of either the provincial or federal governments. And we all know there's a fair bit of money kicking around out there. And these energy audits were an important step in that because it defined that, hey, we've got a problem here, and now we can work towards a solution.
Okay, thank you very much. So I urge councillors to read the one that came in the addendum because it's certainly bigger and has more pieces to it than the other, and look forward to Forrest coming back with some recommendations.
My pleasure.
Okay, the clerk is suggesting that we, instead of going to Treasury right now, we go to the item that was added, which is staff reports are, since, oops, because Forrest, can you come back so we can deal with the grant while you're here? So I will read the motion, which is again from the addendum. It's item R. And it's motion that bylaw number 2024-057, being a bylaw to enter into a memorandum of understanding between Tree Canada and the Corporation of the Township of Seguin related to the Community Tree Grants Program, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Could I have a motion to that effect? Councillor Collins and Councillor Fellner. And this is to receive money, grants. $10,000. All in favor? Thank you. And I just want to ask a question because I was supposed to attend and no longer can. But Councillor Collins is going to be there. Okay, great. Get out your shovel and your rubber boots. Thank you very much, Forrest, and congratulations on the award of the funding. So we move back to item P, and I think we have Michelle. Yes. Okay, we have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt staff report number TR 2024-002, 2024 PSAB expenditures and regulation 284/09 of the Municipal Act, copy attached as Schedule A to this resolution. Could I have a motion to this effect? Councillor Getty. Seconder, Councillor Adams. Every year I wonder what we're doing, but I get it that Michelle knows. So are there any questions for Michelle? It's really taking it. Oh, Councillor Finson.
My question is, I would like to know about the community hall. I would like to know where the money went that was in that reserve account, the capital reserves. As I see right now, there's $2 million, period. There's some money here and some money there, and I'd like you to explain to me because I don't understand, please.
Councillor Finson, I believe you're asking a question on the budget, which is item Q, not the PSA.
Oh, sorry.
PSAB expenditure.
Oh, sorry. I thought we only had you for that little bit.
Okay.
Sorry.
So we'll get to your question on when we get to the budget. Are there any other questions? All in favor of letting Michelle do her magic? Harry, thank you. And I have a motion that bylaw number 2024-046, being a bylaw to adopt the estimates of all sums required during the year and to strike the tax rates for the year 2024, is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. I need to get this motion on the table. Councillor Adams and Councillor Bazinski. Okay. You have an outstanding question from Councillor Finson.
And I'm sorry, Gail, could you repeat that again? I didn't get it all.
I'm just asking about the money for the community hall. There's a capital reserves and then there's another account and it doesn't equal 2 million plus what was in there. And so I'm just concerned. I just don't understand.
Yeah. So there was originally $400 and some odd thousand for the Memorial Hall coming from the capital reserve. Then we were counting on approximately $265,000 coming from whatever grants that we could get in order to do the first phase of the Ross Memorial Hall. We now have that $2 million. So there is currently in this budget, $691,000 for the Ross Memorial Hall for the first phase to come from that grant. Whatever council decides to do in the next steps will then come from the grant or any additional funding or any fundraising.
Okay, I'm not sure what you mean. The grant? What are you talking about?
But,
the grant?
sorry, not the grant, the bequest, sorry. The $2
Okay,
million.
So only, I think the bequest can only fund renovations that are involved in the renovating of the hall. Yes.
The
And they didn't know
bequest,
to do.
the bequest is for anything to do with the Rossa Memorial Hall, operating and capital.
Yeah.
But it's
So
specific
where did the
to
money
the
go
Rossa
that was in
Memorial.
that? Where? Okay, so where did the money that go that was in there? Like you just took it away, gave it back? Like, there was $457 in the 57,000 in the capital or whatever it was in the capital account.
It's now being funded
Now-
from that. It's now being funded from that bequest, not from the capital reserve.
Why? Can you tell me why?
Can I weigh in here?
Okay,
I think
you know
what we
what?
did.
You're not gonna look at me like that. I'm gonna
Bequest
just say,
for the capital, oh, okay.
The funds were not set aside. We tried to put it as a marker, if I call it that. It was planning for capital, but it was never actually allocated by council.
No, and part of Dominique's report tonight was that we've got some phases to go through. This is just the first steps. So anything that comes out of that bequest or anything to be spent on the Ross Memorial Hall will come back to council again.
Does that answer your question, Gail?
thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bazinski.
Michelle, in terms of the budget, could you identify any additional staffing for 2024 that wasn't in 2023? Is there any? I mean, there were the two public works guys that went from part-time to full-time.
Yes.
And that type of thing. Like I noticed that there was an addition to your department, and was that always planned for and so on, or filling an existing?
No, there was no
vacancy?
addition. There was no addition to my department. I lost somebody. I'm desperate to try to replace her. So, so yeah, no, since the December meeting of council, there have been no additions to staff in this budget.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you. And that tax increase is now final. That's correct? So that's a comfortable number to share with lake associations?
This will be the bylaw that puts it in stone, and the tax bills will be sent out next week.
Okay, thank you. CAO wants to weigh in here.
I just wanted to thank council and staff, of course, and Michelle for putting this together. And I did want to also highlight that in the report, you'll see the installation of a new capital infrastructure reserve as per the direction of council. So 1.5% of this is going to, fund our future infrastructure needs, which is a fairly significant step forward for us. And I wanted to just thank council for your vision and making sure that we're building a sustainable future here in the township. So thank you.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the table for the budget. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you very much, Michelle, for pulling it all together. Oh, but we've got one more piece of this. We have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adopt the Township of Seguin 2025 budget schedule attached hereto as Schedule A to this resolution. And that as per the budget schedule, council does hereby direct staff to schedule a special meeting of council for 2:30 PM, Monday, December 16th, 2024, for consideration of the approved in principle of the Township of Seguin 2025 operating and capital budgets. Could I have a motion on the table? Ted? Seconder? Counselor Fellner? Any questions on the schedule? Put it on your calendars, people. All in favor? Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. I think you're off the hook. Yes. I have a motion that as per the recommendation of the Township of Seguin Business Association Committee, the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby appoint Michelle Berry to the Township of Seguin Business Association Committee. I have a motion, Ted? And seconded by Ken Adams. And I will just say that, wow, Michelle Berry is an unbelievable asset as the 30-some year owner of the KOA campgrounds. She has seen more tourists and housed more tourists in Seguin than most other people in our township. And she brings a wealth of experience to the committee. All in favor? Thank you, and that's carried. I don't know that we still need this because they've changed. The province has backed off. Do I still need to pass it?
Totally up to council.
Okay, this resolution was to do with the province defunding the testing of water throughout the province. And we reacted to, because the archipelago had done it, several other provinces. The province has now indicated that they've reversed their decision and will continue to test all the water. So we can pass a resolution, but I think they're going to say we've already listened to the public. Okay, so we pass on that one. I'd like to move this thing. Okay, this one got discussed a lot at FONUM. This is a resolution, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby support the resolution from the Town of Goderich regarding the return to a combined Ontario Good Roads Association and Rural Ontario Municipal Association conferences, copy as attached as Schedule A to this resolution, and that this resolution be forwarded to the Ontario Good Roads Association, the Rural Ontario Municipal Association, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Paul Calandra, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, the Honorable Graydon Smith, MPP Parry Sound Muskoka, the Town of Goderich, and the Township of Lanark Highlands. Could I have a motion to this effect? Greg and Ken? All in favor? Thanks. I hope they're listening because it was certainly talked about at FONUM. And this is a resolution that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby support the Town of Lincoln's resolution, RC 2024-23, copy attached as Schedule A to this resolution, and urges the provincial government to support increasing funding to both public libraries and community museums, recognizing these institutions as national assets and strategically investing in their potential to contribute significantly to renewing post-pandemic social cohesion, economic well-being, and community resilience, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to the Honorable Neil Lumsden, Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, the Honorable Graydon Smith, MPP Parry Sound Muskoka, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and the Town of Lincoln. Could I have a motion to this effect? Mario Basinski and Greg. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. And I believe that you are considering delegating on this at AMO. Okay. I have a resolution. Hang on, where are we? We should be on F. There's no resolution on Belvedere Heights. Okay, so this is for information in your package. Belvedere Heights is asking for our support to pursue the 24 bed allocation, increase allocation in the Belvedere building. The concept of the campus of care has basically been parked by the Ontario government for at least the next few years, partly because Belvedere is newer, believe it or not, than many of the other facilities they have to fix. So they're just saying, we're going to do the older ones first. And so they've been given the option to increase the bed allocation by 24 beds, and that will involve renovation and consulting and what have you. Interesting, at the FONOM conference, the Minister of Long-Term Care, Stan Cho, said, I never want to hear about bed allocations again in long-term care. I want to hear about home allocations. And he was passionate about it. Someone is in long-term care is at their home when they're in long-term care. They're not just in a bed. And he was quite eloquent the way he talked about that as the responsibility of the ministry. Councillor Bazinski.
Just a quick question, because there are a lot of things that were going on with Belvedere, including buying out the life lease or whatever it was called. Could we get a report? Maybe, I don't know if it's Gail or somebody from Belvedere to explain what's going on, because there were a number of units that were being rented out. And, you know, if we're talking about 24 bed allocation and construction, that makes no sense to me, because this could be an interim thing until 10 years. Well, anyway, long and the short of it, are we still going to keep the same process of trying to buy the life lease things out, or could we move some of the beds into that part of the building, et cetera, et cetera?
CAO Inwood will answer it, but I also know that we have an offer from Pam Wing, the chair, to come and present at council. So why don't you tell them where we're at?
Thank you, Worship. Just last Friday morning, actually, I received an email from the folks at Belvedere Heights inviting CAOs, mayors were copied, and of course, board members were copied to an information session that'll be held on May 23rd. I think it's important that we represent ourselves and attend that meeting, and then perhaps either we're bringing back information for council's consideration, or we're inviting Pam or whomever from the board to join us and share that information. But I think first step is we're going to attend their meeting and learn what we can from their information session, and we'll take the appropriate steps from there.
And I hope you saw that I can't attend. That's the EMS board. And I know Councillor Finson's out of town. So any other councillors that can attend with you, it would be a good thing to learn from. Okay. Now we're on Ontario Works. I have motion, be it result or resolution, that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby support resolution number 240402 of the District of Parry Sound Social Services Administration Board, copy attached as Schedule A to this resolution, to set basic needs and shelter rates for Ontario Works, and that a copy of this resolution be sent to Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honorable Michael Parsa, Minister of Children, Community and Social Services, the Honorable Graydon Smith, MPP Parry Sound Muskoka, and the District of Parry Sound Social Services Administration Board. Could I have a motion to this effect? You're on DSAP, Ted and Greg. All in favor? Councillor Vincent? Okay, thank you. Oh, this is Hope Air. Okay, this came up at FONOM as well. Do I have to read the whole thing?
Because we're live streamed.
Oof. Okay, bear with me. I have a motion. Whereas access to healthcare is a fundamental right for all citizens regardless of their geographic location. Whereas Hope Air, a charitable organization, has been tirelessly dedicated to providing access to healthcare by facilitating free flights and other services for patients living in rural and underserved communities in Ontario, ensuring they can receive vital medical treatment regardless of distance or financial means. And whereas Hope Air has been instrumental in bridging the gap between smaller communities and hospitals far from home, reducing the barriers that often prevent individuals from reaching medical care. And whereas the impact of Hope Air extends beyond the individual patients served, positively affecting families, communities, and the healthcare system as a whole by promoting wellness and reducing the burden of untreated medical conditions. And whereas the compassion, dedication, and commitment demonstrated by Hope Air and its volunteers embody the spirit of community and the belief in the inherent value of every individual's well-being. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proclaim that June 7th, 2024 shall be known as Hope Air Day in recognition of the invaluable contributions, excuse me, made by Hope Air to the health and well-being of individuals in Ontario's remote and rural communities. And that we urge all citizens to join us in celebrating Hope Air Day and to reflect on the significance of ensuring equitable access to healthcare for all members of our society. Let us reaffirm our commitment to supporting initiatives that promote health equity and extend our gratitude to Hope Air for their unwavering dedication to serving those in need. Could I have a motion? Ken and Marion? All in favor? It's actually quite amazing when you read how many flights and fuel and time get donated. It's mind-boggling. Is for information? Support for so this is the Wounded Warriors of Canada is asking for support to create the historical guides, basically, I believe, so that it will be part of the history guide and memorial. So you're asking for council direction whether we support it? Is that?
They've included a price list and the council wishes to support.
Yeah.
To which extent?
Does council have any input on this? It's basically an advertising request. And we get advertising requests all the time. Part of me says this kind of thing should come in with our donation requests in December. But I'm open to other direction. I hear none. So I'm going to suggest that someone write back to them and suggest that any expenditures like this are dealt with in the first week of December in any given year. People comfortable with that? Okay. It's not that we don't support them, but we need to be consistent about when we look at these things. Okay. Council reports from the OGRA conference are attached for your information. And I think we'll go to council reports now. So Councillor Adams, you're number one.
Thank you. October 16th, after the council meeting, I attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting in Perry Sound. This is the wrong one. Sorry. Sorry. I'll just be a sec. Sorry about that. April 17th, I attended the Recreation and Culture meeting. April the 19th, I attended the West Prairie Sound District Community Support Services lunch at the Foley Hall. April the 22nd, I attended the West Prairie Sound Chamber meeting. April the 25th, I attended the West Prairie Sound Museum meeting. May the 1st, I met with Dominique and Kenny at the Horseshoe Ball Field to discuss possible playground equipment installed on this site. May the 5th to the 8th, I attended the Phenom Conference in Sudbury. It was well attended, and I'm working on the report for the next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brzezinski.
On the 26th, I had a meeting with Taylor Forrest and a couple of other, and the CAO was there as well, talking about a possible waste management alternative system. Interesting meeting. And other than that, I've had numerous calls with ratepayers with respect to roads and waste management and the long arm access point, not to belabor a point, but that was it.
Councillor Getty.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On the 17th of April, I had a Rosso nurse practitioner-led clinic meeting, commonly known as the Rosso Nursing Station. One of the good things that came out of that is that we realized that roles and responsibilities between Perry Sound Hospital and the Township of Seguin are very vague, and we've had ongoing discussions in regards to that. There will be a meeting. We've just firmed it up this afternoon. Dominique and Kenny will be involved in that to try to see where we move forward in regards to a more formal areas of delineation and responsibility in regards to the clinic. On the 20th of April, I attended the Earth Day celebration at the Humphrey Nature Trail. It was fantastic. The staff did a great job, lots of kids and a lot of fun. April 21st to 24th, I attended the Good Roads Conference. May 6th, we had a meeting in regards to the health fair scheduled for June the 4th. That has been formalized for 2 to 6 p.m. Dominique and Valerie have done a great job. Valerie's got it on the website already. I will send a link with a PDF to everybody, and I would request that you send it out to all of your lake and road associations. The more people we can get to it to show an interest, we'll be able to show Ontario Health the requirement for expanded services in Seguin specifically. One of the things that has come out of this, currently, as of last week, we had 10 organizations that would be presenting, including an example would be Public Health will have representatives there to assist seniors in signing up for the new dental care program and how to navigate that. There's been a lot of confusion in regards to that. And the OPP will be doing presentations on senior fraud prevention as well as some of the other services. One of the interesting things that comes out of it, we're hoping to have a representative from Alzheimer's Society there. There is no Alzheimer's support in Seguin Township. And we've only found that out through this venture and process. So we'll be looking to address that as we move forward in the future. So hopefully we can have a good attendance and use it as a stepping stone to advance further treatments in the community. May 8th, I had a committee of adjustment meeting, and that was really it. Thank you.
Councillor Feller.
Thank you, Mayor. I had numerous calls with regards to one of the zoning applications we looked at today. I think, generally, a few things came to light that I think as a council we should consider going down the road. One would be the implementation of a dark skies policy. I think we need to look at perhaps putting some control or expectations on blasting within the site alteration envelope. I think we should actually look at maybe increasing the site alteration envelope. We should look at that concept as well. The themes seem to be the same. Light pollution, noise pollution, visual impacts to the shoreline, and the significant alteration of natural topography in order to incorporate a specific building design instead of perhaps designing your building to perhaps fit better on the existing topography. So I think those are all things that came to light here that are well worth discussing. Additionally, I had a pool meeting. Any of you that drove by the site recently at Joseph Street, there's been a tremendous amount of progress there. Our CAO has been working hard and diligently, as well as our mayor, and we're on our way. No turning back now. So all good stuff. So we had an event on the Seguin Trail last weekend, the Kelly Shire ride. They come up every year. Got a few comments back that the trail's too good, not exciting enough, and the one trail they like to really play in the mud with was too wet. So, but then maybe that's the luck of the draw. So, but the work that we did last year on the trail has held up exceedingly well over the through the spring, and it's a real early start to you know, a good portion of the trail. So that's all I have to report.
Councillor Collins.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. I had a regular meeting of DSAB. It was a very short meeting on the 9th. And that's about it, other than dealing with my constituents. But coming on the 15th, which is Wednesday, I'll be at the tree planting event at the Orville Fire Hall. Okay, with the kids, right? The 17th, I guess, is our district municipal association meeting in Emsdale that I'll be attending. And like I said earlier, that Archipelago is taking the fall meeting in 24, and we will be taking it in 25. So, thank you. Huh?
Councillor Finson.
Well, Point of Barrow. Yeah, it's a Point of Barrow, Archipelago.
Where in Point of Barrow?
At the community center.
Oh, the community
Community
center.
center. in
Okay.
Point of Barrow. Yep.
Okay. Councillor Finson.
I dealt with a few residents' calls, some of them concerning the nurses' station, which I passed on to Greg. There was some about the rezoning that was going on. I was able to answer their questions. I spoke with Taylor first, and I was able to answer their questions and satisfy their concerns. I was at the Earth Day celebration at the barn and went on the trail walk. On April the 17th, I had a rec committee meeting. May the 1st, I was in at a Rosso business meeting, the businesses in Rosso. May the 3rd, I was at Belvedere Heights meeting, and Anne has covered what happened at Belvedere Heights, and so has Jason. May the 3rd, that was Belvedere Heights. April the 21st to the 24th, I was at Good Roads, and it was a pretty good conference, but not as many new innovative things as I've seen in the past. It was sort of, anyway, it wasn't the best one I've been to, but it was good enough. And I was at a DSAB meeting again, which was very short, really good meeting actually, on May the 9th. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I will try not to repeat some of the ones you others have mentioned. April 16th, a group of us met with Mike Smith about the next steps at the Rosso Marina, which is open. And they've been launching boats for the last week, and there will be some food stuffs on the dock. They hope by the end of next weekend, a long weekend, and a soft opening of their restaurant upstairs later in the summer. We did have a special meeting of the rec center board. And just to report, we have ended our relationship with the performance sponsorship group, the professional fundraiser. She presented a very negative report, hadn't raised any money. And several of the people had said, no, we're not interested. Richard Culverwell and I have gone back to, he's the co-chair of the fundraising, and the people have said, sure, we'll happily deal with you, but not with a stranger. So that was the end of her relationship with us. And that day was also the Perry Sound Sport and Leisure Fair, where the rec center had a table. That's where everything from Girl Guides to the badminton club to the soccer club are recruiting members. April 19th was a Friday, and it was a luncheon at Foley with Minister Cho and Minister Graydon Smith, announcing significant fundraising for seniors in the West Perry Sound area. And some of that is feeding into the Rosso CCS activity, which is gonna happen, I forget what day, but it's coming up and you'll all be invited. April 20th was Earth Day, and once again, the staff do come through. It was really cold, but there were lots of kids there and we had fun. April 23rd was the spring tea for the library in Orville, which I attended. And the Chamber of Commerce of Perry Sound that night did their after hours meeting at our airport, where they were served a full dinner by the cafe in the airport. And so for many people from Perry Sound, they'd never been to the airport. It was actually a good awareness. April 25th, I had a fundraising meeting for the rec center. April 27th was the Mullins family 65th wedding anniversary, and I was there. I've never seen so many people in the Rosso Community Hall. We couldn't present the plaque because nobody could get to the stage. It was so crowded. And I just want to point out that our plaque was about this big that Craig did. The one from the King is about this big. So the priority was kind of funny. April 29th was the West Perry Sound Hospital update for all councils. I attended. You guys are usually all invited, and it's usually only about an hour just to give you an update on what's happening at the hospital from the board point of view. Gail mentioned that we had a meeting with the Village of Rosso business people on May 1. We have some next steps there. May 2nd, I attended the Seguin Business Association meeting, and we had a presentation from James Murphy of the Explorer Edge. May 4th was the Maple Syrup Festival in Perry Sound, where I, like several of the other mayors and Graydon Hall, were judges of the Butter Tart Festival. Next year, somebody else can take it because there were 24 entries. And by the end of it, none of us felt very good. And they cut all the butter tarts into 4 quarters. So you didn't have to eat 24 full butter tarts, but by the time you taste 24 times a quarter, you've eaten 6 butter tarts in an hour. Perfect. Because all the rest of us were kind of looking green by the end of it. Then May 5th to 8th was Photo in Sudbury, and you'll have my report at the next meeting. May 8th, last Wednesday, was the West Perry Sound Recreation meeting. And May 9th was the Seguin Emergency Management Planning meeting here internally. And I did send an email out to all of you for which I have not received a reply about a barbecue for staff by council. Are we in? Are we in? Okay, so if you could take a look at the email, there's a list of what I need volunteers to do. And if you would email me back to make sure everything's covered, that's great. So now you can confirm the 27th, we'll be feeding staff. Just one other thing sorry, I should have done this when I did the West Perry Sound update, the hospital update. There's a new board chair there who's Dave Garrigan. And there's a new chair of the hospital foundation who's a woman named Daphne Lucadelis. The hospital is now saying that COVID is an ongoing illness, and they are treating it that way. They now have the online emergency room tracker. So if you're headed to Emerge, you can go in and see how long the wait time is at the hospital. Just for perspective, there are 114 open jobs at the hospital. 35% are there for registered nurses and nurse practitioners. And that's 114 out of 800 employees between Belvedere, Lakeland, and the hospital. So that's a lot of openings. If you know anybody that wants to work in the healthcare field, they're working hard at it. And that's my report. Over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to skip over a couple things because you've all touched on a number of the recent events, but I just want to share that staff and members of the public are encouraged to attend a free workshop about the invasive species Phragmites, hosted by the Georgian Bay Biosphere. That's tomorrow at 1 p.m. at the Humphrey Community Center. This is an opportunity to learn about Phragmites' impact on the local environment and what you can do to help. We are starting to see Phragmites making its way into the community, so it's time to get ahead of it where we can and do what we can to help prevent the spread. Swim registration opens up this Friday at 7 a.m. Swim lessons will be offered at the Rosso waterfront and the Foley Matheson Beach. Just piggybacking a little bit on one of the addendum items, our climate change intern, Preston Nielsen, recently visited the Green Industries class at the Perry Sound High School to teach them about reforesting and planting. And of course, on Wednesday, he'll take that class out to the Christie Fire Hall and join Councillor Collins to plant 150 trees. This project was funded by Trees Canada, 100% funded by Trees Canada, and was made possible through the collaborative efforts of fire services, community services, and our strategic initiatives group. Sorry, and I'm getting a message from Forrest. It's 500, not 150 trees. Thank you, Forrest. Somebody's always paying attention to what I'm saying. And Ted's, that was what I was referencing to us. Seguin Township will celebrate Public Works Week, May 19th to 28th, recognizing the commitment and important work of this team. Not that every team is really important, but there is a Public Works Week. Representatives from Public Works will drive a fleet of vehicles over to the Humphrey Public School for demos and a meet and greet with the students. Also, Seguin Township is now accepting applications for the Enriching Tourism in Seguin program, which will provide hands-on training for 3 local businesses looking to attract more tourists in a sustainable and meaningful way. Anyone interested is encouraged to visit letsconnectseguin.ca for more information. And last but not least, for sure, is Seguin's annual free family fun night is coming up on Friday, June 21st from 6 to 9 p.m. at the Rosso waterfront. There will be a barbecue, live music, magic show, and much, much more. Thank you, Worship. That's it for us.
I'm sorry, mover, sorry. This is accepting the board committee minutes and agendas and the correspondence. And it was moved by Mario and seconded by Greg. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby proceed to a closed meeting at 5:19 p.m. in order to address matters pertaining to a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board. That's related to part of Plan 326, Lot 35 in the geographic township of Christie, now Seguin, and the Seguin Recreational Trail. I have a motion to move into council. Greg and Ken. All in favor? Thanks. Okay, can I read this? I have a motion that the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rise from the closed session and declare the regular meeting reconvened at 6:08 PM. Motion. Greg and Ken. All in favor? Thank you. And I have a motion that the council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby rescind resolution number 2022-289, a resolution approving in principle the disposal of Township of Seguin owned lands, being a portion of Plan 327, Lot 35, Geographic Township of Christie, specifically the portion abutting the property at 146 Shoots Trail. And that council directs staff to advise Robert Chandler that council will not be disposing of the municipally owned land as there is a historical portage on the lands. And further, that council authorizes and directs staff to refund Mr. Chandler his application fee for this matter. Could I have a motion? Terry, all in favor? Your hands go up mighty quickly at the end. I have a motion that being that bylaw number 2024-041 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of meetings of council is hereby deemed to have been read a first, second, and third time and passed by council. Motion. Ken and Mario. All in favor? And I have a motion that council of the corporation of the Township of Seguin does hereby adjourn this regular meeting of council at 6:10 PM to meet again on Monday, June 3rd, or at the call of the mayor, sorry. Moved by Greg, Mario. All in favor? Thank you. Have a good evening, everybody. Travel safely, Gail.